Hello there, welcome to One on One. My name is Bridget Otu. Thank you very much for joining us. Today on One on One, we're talking about the Electoral Commission. The registration exercise is ongoing. The Electoral Commission has made some mistakes. Already they have an issue with the National Democratic Congress who do not trust them. And unfortunately, their figures has added more mistrust to the position of the NDC. Again, on this platform, we're going to talk about cocoa. And cocoa is like one of the most valuable commodities that this country has. It contributes about 15% to Ghana's economy. In fact, without it, this country will be on its knees. And that is poetic because currently the country is actually on its knees. So what has gone wrong in the cocoa sector? When we come back from the break, we'll talk to a man who is a member of the National Democratic Congress. But beyond that, he actually happens to be an Greek economist, a financial economist, so he knows a lot about this industry. We will talk to him about it and see what exactly is Cocoa Board, the managers of that cocoa industry. What are they doing wrong? What more can they do, especially when the CEO says that they have been better managers of this cocoa industry. They are even paying more than their counterpart, Ivory Coast. We'll be right back to talk more. So welcome back to One on One. My guest is a former Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, currently Director in charge of Corporate Affairs. He also happens to be a member of the team that is managing and organizing the election for the National Democratic Congress. He's a lecturer, like I said earlier, and a Greek economist and financial economist as well. Dr. Peter Otokunor, thank you very much for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
One on One. Anytime we talk about cocoa, we are all interested because we know the importance of cocoa to this country. I mean, without it, I wonder where we would be as the second largest producer of cocoa. From where you sit, looking at the challenges that the cocoa industry has faced, I will get to specific questions, but I want us to talk in general. What do you think that has gone wrong in the last 7 years to bring us to where we are, where people are importing the cocoa beans from Ivory Coast?
Okay, so first of all, let's look at it from the outcome. You see the current currency challenges we are going through, the forex challenges we are going through, the depreciation, the fiscal challenges, the lack of liquidity in the system, all mostly boils down to cocoa. Because if you look at our financials, you will realize that in 2017, cocoa alone contributed $2.1 billion to our economy. In 2018, it contributed $3.2 billion. And this was particularly because of the kind of investments that were made, years before those periods. Now, if you want to see the real effect of the management of the cocoa sector, what we are feeling today is an effect, is a product of what has been done in the last 8 years. So you would realize that from the 2018 $3.2 billion, in 2022, we got some $533 million. That is woefully low. I mean, from 3.2 to $533 million. Then last year, we got the worst, which is $262 million. And so from a crop that has been the lifeline of this country for decades, it has now become a crop of insignificance. We used to call it cash crop.
Yes.
But now it's no more cash crop because we are not really getting what we are supposed to get from it. We are rather getting debts. So if you look at our debt portfolio, you realize that the cocoa debts, the cocoa bills, constitutes the biggest chunk of the debts. In fact, as part of the DDE, 7.1 billion Ghana cedi of the debt had to be rearranged, and all those monies are monies that we are going to pay in future. But for the domestic debt alone, cocoa bills is 7.1 billion, and that is huge. We have not gotten to the syndicated loans that we used to get on the market. And I'm sure you have heard recently how we are suffering to even secure the syndicated loans.
Was it in November that Parliament approved about $800 million to help?
Yes, at an unprecedented rate. We have never gotten syndicated loans at that rate before because of the current challenges that we are having, the challenges of not being able to pay the loan. So we are unable to get the loan at a cheaper rate. And so that
what happened? What went wrong? Is it that because in our mind, it is supposed to be the cash cow or cash crop. We relaxed without necessarily making the right investment. Or what do you think really, when did we take our eye off the ball? What happened?
Well, on a lighter note, I think Akufo-Addo Bawumia happened to the cocoa sector, and that is what has brought us to this point.
What do you mean?
Pure mismanagement, because cocoa, just like any commodity, does well from the production side, and so for every government to make sure that you get what you have to get from cocoa, you have to work on the production side. Now, what this government has failed is gross lack of investment in the production side. Now, cocoa spraying is not being done. Soling shoots has taken over the cocoa industry. I mean, Galamsey has taken a large chunk of the cocoa industry away. The farmers are demotivated because they are not getting the right prices for cocoa. And in 8 years, when we were making the $2.1 billion, the $3.2 billion, and all those huge amounts of monies, for about 6-7 years, no cocoa increment was done. I mean, there was virtually no increment in the prices. And cocoa was doing well on the market. In actual fact, last year, cocoa peaked at around $3,200. As we speak this year, as in April, $6,650 per ton. 6,600. How much is a Ghanaian cocoa farmer getting? 2,070. Yeah. In actual fact, as we speak on the market, nobody buys it for 2,070.
But it's still an increase. There was still an increment.
But that's
I think about 58%.
No, you see, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
And I'm going to go into that analysis.
Okay.
In actual fact, as it stands now, nobody even buys the cocoa at 2,070 Ghana cedis, because PBC, that is the state buyer, is not able to buy anymore. PBC has virtually collapsed. I mean, it is crunched out, credit, is crunched out completely, and they are not able to buy. And so the individuals who are managing the local sector and are not buying it even at 2,070. They are buying at 1,900. Some are buying at 2,000. If you want to take it, if you don't want, they leave. You understand? And so there is a bigger challenge on the cocoa downstream. And again, it is a production challenge. So for every farmer, what are they looking at? They are looking at input costs. And so what are the input costs? How much am I buying fertilizer? How much am I buying condemn? How much am I buying dustban? How much am I, managing my farm? And so cocoa is a seasonal crop. So if I'm going to spend so much money over a long period, 1 year, and get the returns, then it will not be profitable for me to do that. So again, what will happen is that then I have to strategically cut down on production so that I'll be able to make ends meet, take care of family, and still manage the farm. And so most of the farmers have cut down the sizes of the cocoa that they are producing. Remember that cocoa averagely yields about 1 ton in terms of dry beans, 1 ton per acre. Now, as it stands now, most of the farmers are doing about 450 kilograms per hectare, per acres. So every acre, instead of getting 1 ton, you are getting 450 kilograms. And that is woefully inadequate. That, in fact, if they were performing optimally in Ghana, they could be doing beyond 1.5 tons, 1.5 tons per hectare or per acre. But they are doing 1 ton per hectare. Now, because of the mismanagement, the lack of inputs, the input cost and all that, they are barely doing even 5 bags instead of 15 bags. And so that is a major problem. And so the farmer is demotivated, he's not getting more, so he finds alternative. It's a coping mechanism. I mean, when you study rural finance, it tells you the rural person going into agriculture is doing that for livelihood, to sustain life. Now, if the farm cannot sustain his life, he must find something else. He must find a coping mechanism. And Galamsey becomes a very convenient option. Because if my land is there and is rich in gold, and I am not getting anything from the cocoa, all I need to do is to divest it into the gold mining. Give it to the Galamsey people and get some huge cash and take care of my family. And that is what is happening to cocoa. When you go to Western North, for example, now most of the farmers are cutting down the cocoa trees and they are planting rubber because they think rubber is more profitable. But indeed, rubber is nowhere near the competitiveness of cocoa on the international market. You get the point. Now, one other challenge that we have had to grapple with in cocoa, again, is the fact that this government decided that they wanted to do cocoa rehabilitation. The cocoa, after several years, about 2-3 decades of cocoa's life, the yield per acre goes down, or the yield per hectare goes down. And so there is a need for you to rehabilitate the cocoa. So what cocoa farmers will basically do is that as the time goes by, they cut down some of the trees and replace them. So they do replacement alongside production. Now, this government decided to do a mass cocoa rehabilitation exercise. And they got all the cocoa farmers to cut all their trees down because the trees were old. And government was supposed to supply them with seedlings. Guess what, Bridget? No seedlings were supplied. And so the cocoa farmers do not have the seedlings. They have to struggle to get some of the seedlings to plant. And when they get that, they have to struggle for the inputs. The cocoa spraying exercise has stopped. Now, even extension officers who would go and assist them and guide them, give them, information, guidance, good agro practices, they are no more. So the agronomic practices have gone down, the productivity enhancement programs have gone down, and so what it yields is low yields of cocoa. And guess what? For the first time in a very, very, very long while, almost about 4 decades, we have gotten the lowest yield of cocoa ever in the history of this country. In fact, the last season, we were hovering around 300,000. Just recently, the Cocoa Board said that we were able to make some 490-something thousand. And that is even, I feel that it's not even true, because from the figures I have and the correspondence I have from the Cocoa Board, it's woefully lower than that number. And that means that we are going to get very low returns from cocoa this year. And that is all because of the management. Because if you are not getting the yields, you will not get the money. And if you don't get the money, your economy will be in shambles. And that is actually where we stand now in cocoa. Okay. And it means that we need to do more. But these are just not rocket science. I don't know why the MPP makes it seem like managing the cocoa sector is a rocket science. It's absolutely not rocket science, because it is basically agriculture. You put the right inputs there, you are able to improve efficiency, the technical efficiency of production. You increase your yield, and you go on to the market. Everybody loves cocoa. Cocoa is doing very well. In actual fact, Bridget, as we speak, on the International Cocoa Exchange, they are doing forward sales of cocoa for almost $9,500 per ton. Wow. Per ton. Forward sales. So, which means that the forecasters at the Cocoa Exchange know that moving into the future, cocoa is becoming more expensive. And guess how much we are selling our cocoa per ton? Guess how much? In the forward deals that we have done, this government,
how much?
For every smart government, you would want to do forward sales. Sure. Okay. Because you also want the cash quickly. So if you want the cash quickly, you will do the estimations and sell maybe the cocoa for next year at a fixed price. In finance, it is called forward sales. Sure. Then there is the spot price, where you can decide that, okay, I will not sell at the forward rate, but I will keep some, maybe 50% on forward rates, then the 50% will go on spot market. So that when the spot market does well than the forward, then you can move it in. Now, this government, because of the penchant to get money and, waste on frivolous things and not on investment in the sector, have gone into some, arrangements, some forward sales. And they are selling around some $2,500 in most of the forward agreements. Last year, cocoa peaked at $3,200, which means that we were losing almost about $1,200 per ton. Now, as we speak, this month, last month, April, cocoa is now over 9,500 on forward sales on the ICE. The spot price is 6,650. If we are selling on spot price, Bridget, we will be making about 105,000 per ton. 101, the old cities, 105 billion. That's how much we would have been making from the spot price. Okay. So let's assume that we are not doing spot price. We have done all the forward. And so we are not taking advantage of the 1 billion. But analyze it carefully. You would see that if our cocoa farmer is able to smuggle his cocoa through the borders and send it to Ivory Coast, and he's going on the spot price, he's going to get almost about $1 billion per ton. But how much are you giving the cocoa?
Old cities.
Yes, old cities per ton. That's about 105,000. But how much is he getting here? 2,070 for a bag of 64 kilos. A bag of 64 kilos. So you just multiply that and see 15 bags and see how much you are going to get. You understand? We are just joking. with this agribusiness. So the Ghanaian farmer is getting almost 30,000 per ton. But when he smuggles it, he's going to get 100,000 per ton. Where do you think he will send his cocoa? And so you will not get the cocoa. So apart from the production challenges...
Do you recognize that perhaps the challenges that we face is why maybe government is unable to pay them what should be ideal?
You see, the challenge starts from production, and they are unable to produce. And the government is also not being truthful, and is not being honest, and is not being transparent, and is not managing the money well. And so there's lack of confidence in the system. And so, okay, if they are not managing the money well, we are not getting anything from Cocoa Board. Our roads are bad. They are not doing the cocoa spraying exercise. We don't have even extension officers to guide us and all those co-mininis. And I'm able to yield a few. And I think that I can just cross the border and get more. You smuggle it out. Yeah. You understand? And so this whole thing is a management fiasco from the Cocoa Board, which needs a bigger relook. And I don't know why the MPP is making this look like a rocket science. Because it is not rocket science at all. We have done it. Under Opuni, what Opuni did with Cocoa Board, the kind of returns we got from Cocoa Board, the kind of investments we made with cocoa spraying exercise, free fertilizer for the farmer, that was what yielded Ghana the $3.2 million in 2018. That was what yielded Ghana the $2.1 million in 2017. And so somebody has done it. The model is there. What is wrong with this government? And that is where the finances of Cocoa Board comes in. Okay. And you go and see how they are spending monies and returns that are made from cocoa. So and even the syndicated loans, how they manage the syndicated loans.
Okay. So this was by, I believe, Fifi Boafo, who is PR for Cocoa Board. And obviously, he was full of praise for the government and their performance, and talks about it is untrue that the Cocoa Board is exploiting cocoa farmers, and attributes their achievements. He sets it on the 58% increase in the producer price. And you say it is inaccurate. What is inaccurate about the 58% that he ascribed to the government? So
as it stands now, as at March, the cocoa spot price was 6,650. And I've done the estimations for you, and that is 105,000 as at that time. And you are getting 2020, or let's say you are getting 30,000.
No, let me use the tonnage. But there's still an improvement.
Let me use the tonnage. Let me use the tonnage. Okay. So per ton, the Ghanaian farmer is getting about 30,000 Ghana cedis per ton. But in actual fact, the cocoa is being sold for 105,000, tons. I get you. And so calculate the percentage. So 30,000 as a percentage of 100,000, 105,000. That is 30%. Now they go around gloating that they are paying 58%, it's not 58%, because the actual price on the market is the 6,650.
No, but the 2,000 is on the previous producer price. I think it was around 700 something. So that is how they did the calculation. That's how they calculated it.
And that is the deception. That is the mathematical deception. I mean, for anybody who understands mathematics, you are calculating the payment as a percentage of what is on the international market. How much you are earning.
Sorry, 1,200.
Exactly. Yeah, so how much you are earning from the market. It's percentage you are paying to the farmer.
Okay.
You understand? It's not the growth. It's not the growth rate, because from 2017, in fact, from 2017 up till about 2021, there was no increment in cocoa prices. There was no increment at all. Even though cocoa was doing very well, we were getting the cocoa receipts, we were making a lot of money into the economy. And no proper, payment was given to the cocoa farmers. And remember, it's not only about the cocoa price. It's not only about the 6,650. There is what we call the LID. The LID is the living differential that is paid to countries like Ghana, Ivory Coast, because of our living conditions and we producing cocoa. The cocoa exchange has, crafted this premium that is paid to every country, and it is $400 per ton. $400 per ton. Then there is another premium that is paid, that is $497 per ton. And that $497 per ton plus the $400 all goes together if they are selling a spot price with the 6,650. And so what we are talking about it's about some $77,400, dollars per ton. And so that goes beyond even the 105,000 that I'm talking about. And so if you are doing the percentage you are giving to the farmers, you calculate the amount you are giving them as a percentage of what you are getting from the international market. And that is the argument that I am making here. Okay. That look, indeed, that percentage that they are giving to the farmers is less than 30% of what they are supposed to give to the farmers, and not 58%. And again, you see, sometimes there's a difference between propaganda and the PR gimmicks that they play and the actual situation on the ground. And when you have time to pick pen and paper and calculator and you do your own calculation as the farmers are doing, that is where the reality dawns on them. And that's why the farmers are complaining. That's why the farmers are crying. Okay. And so that's why they are moving away.
Okay. So I wanted to, just be certain on the figure, on the calculation of the 58% and how it was done. And this is from COCOBOD, so I'll just do cocoboard.gh, and it simply says that the government of Ghana, so I'm reading exactly what they wrote, in consultation with stakeholders, reviewed the producer price of cocoa for the 2023-2024 crop year, and by 58.26%, and this is what they said. They moved it from 20,928 per ton to 33,000 per ton for the rest of the 2023. Yeah, so this is obviously
so this per ton, yes.
So this is in cedi. So I think the dollar equivalent at the time was around 2,400 USD. So it's around 30. So per this, they are calculating. So it was 20,000 plus. Now it's 33,000. So that's how they calculated the 58. Then that makes sense that it's 58.
You see, the point is that you are not calculating based on the growth. Don't tell me that the amount I'm paying you for the cocoa, I used to give you 100 cedis. So now I am giving you 120 cedis. So I have increased it by maybe 20%. So I have done well. That is not the relativities that you do. The relativity calculation of cocoa pricing is based on what is sold at the international market. Remember that cocoa is an international tradable commodity, which trades in terms of foreign currency. And in terms of foreign currency, time is of essence. The rate today would be different from the rate tomorrow. And remember again that the inputs that the farmers use on the market mostly are imported commodities. And as the prices or the exchange rates, depreciates, it affects the prices. Yeah. And so they go to buy it in Ghana cedis. And so when you come and say, oh, I have increased it even by 50% in terms of nominal value of Ghana cedis, the prices of the commodities will not increase based on the nominal value of Ghana cedi. You understand? A proportionate nominal value of Ghana cedi.
How do we turn it around? Because I have two experiences that I can never forget. I think it was on news on a sister station where a cocoa farmer was bragging about giving his farm out for galamsey to use, and he had been given money. He was able to build a house from it, and it was at the peak of the galamsey fight where the water body still is, in color that I shudder to even mention. And then there was another incident in Tema around Pung, where there's a factory that was doing cocoa production, but they had to shut down because they just could not find the cocoa beans to buy in Ghana. They have to import from Ivory Coast, and then they realized that it was just not sustainable. They had to lay their workers off and just shut down until such a time where there's stability. So how do we turn things around now? What can you, yes, I know that you're in a position, but I'm sure the country is at heart for you. How then do we turn things around? Is the government open to suggestions? Do you think that they are in over their heads in praising themselves that they've done so well that they've shut down any voice of reason?
Well, I think they enjoy self-gloating, and that is one unfortunate thing, because he who knows not and knows not that he knows not is a complete fool, and you have to shun him, as the saying goes. And that is clearly what is happening to this government, because they know not, and they know not that they know not. Or perhaps maybe they know that they know not, but they have to deceive the people, and they have to deceive the people because of the politics of the day. Because in actual fact, as you are saying, it's not only that company a lot of produce buying companies have shut down because they are not getting the beans. Myself, I have been following the industry very closely, and I know players in the industry who have shut down. Some have lost their jobs. Some were people who were working for companies that were buying the cocoa, and they have shut down. And they are not only sitting down waiting for the cocoa sector to do well, they have actually moved to Ivory Coast. Wow. And so they've exported all the jobs to Ivory Coast. They've moved all their incomes to Ivory Coast. And again, it's not like only cocoa is the only sector that is struggling from that kind of attrition. The attrition is happening across sectors. But again, because we are talking about cocoa, let's restrict ourselves. In the downstream, there are value chain jobs that are created. Those drivers who drive the Kia Rhino trucks, they go to the smaller villages, bad roads, and move the beans to the district capitals, where the buyers will now aggregate and move them to the ports and export. All those vehicles are now parked. They don't have any work to do. They are all out of business. Their drivers and their mates. Now, all those people who were selling even agrochemicals in the various communities, the dustban and all those things, they are closing their shops down because the cocoa farmer is not able to buy the chemicals. The prices are huge, and so they are moving out of business. And so it's a very huge value chain crisis in cocoa that we have to look at. And Kwame Nkrumah Ghana, known for the best cocoa in the world, is now importing cocoa from Nigeria. Can you imagine? Is it not historic? Is it not a major issue that requires attention? Now the cocoa board will come and tell you that it's a light crop beans. And you see, again, that is the deception. What is the light crop beans? The light crop beans are some of the beans that do not do well on the international market. They don't buy them. And so usually when they do all the selection, the light crop beans are selected out and they are given to the local industry because the local processing for intermediate commodities of cocoa use those light beans.
Right.
Now, this government, under this government, even the light crop beans, they are not able to produce. They are not able to get. And so that's why recently you saw the documentation allowing somebody to import from Nigeria because we don't have the light crop beans. It's not as if we even overproduced and the quality of the beans was so high and we sold all the high quality beans and we didn't get the light crop beans. In fact, it's virtually non-existent. The high quality beans are not produced and the light crop beans are also not produced. And that is where we have come to as a country in terms of cocoa.
Okay. We'll have to take a break. After the break, we'll talk about the Electoral Commission. I didn't see the apple for the government, though. I didn't hear the apple.
Oh, you want to, but we can, when we come back, we can talk about it.
When we come back from the break, we'll talk about the Electoral Commission. I mean, I had to put that here because if we start with the Electoral Commission, I'm sure it would take the entire time because Dr. Otokunor has a lot to say about the Electoral Commission and what I even describe as, comedy of errors, which we shouldn't be experiencing with the Electoral Commission at the peak of the election 2024. We'll be right back. Right, so welcome back to One on One. My guest is Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor. Conversation on the cocoa industry, the mess going on there, and the way forward. From cocoa, a bag that was around, I think, 800 cedis. Now we're somewhere around 2,000 cedis.
Yeah, 2,070 cedis.
So even though there is increments, if you look at it in the broad scheme of things, with what is happening, the dollar rate, the exchange rate, then it's, according to Otokunor, then it's minimal, it's insignificant. Our neighbors are paying far better and their farmers are doing far better. Now, let's talk about the Electoral Commission. We've monitored the registration exercise and I'm using them. So they put their own figures out. And then the NDC drew their attention to it. That, look, pair your own figures that you have put out. The total that you have put out is inaccurate. I mean, this is the Electoral Commission, national, where they are supposed to have persons, cross-check. When you saw this, when you saw that total calculation is inaccurate, were you alarmed? And what does that say about the Electoral Commission and where they are?
First of all, I think this Electoral Commission does not only have a problem with competence, but they have a bigger problem with integrity. And that is where we have had our differences with the Electoral Commission. You will know that in the past, when Jean Mensa took office, we were upbeat we knew that she was coming from a background that could be problematic for her position and the work she was coming to do. Yes.
Okay.
No, I mean the IEA and the personal relationship with the MPP.
Oh, okay. I get
But we didn't let that get ahead of us. Okay. We had a problem with the way Charlotte Osei was removed. But we were very okay to work, with the Electoral Commission and see how we improve our democracy. But again, she proved to us that we had a bigger worry at the Electoral Commission and that our democracy was under threat. And that is what led to a lot of issues we had with the Electoral Commission that heralded in our issues in 2020, the elections where our election results was changed over 7 times. And I don't know whether General Mosquito will say it was a declarathon or it goes into the Guinness Book of Records as the worst, marathon of changing of figures by an Electoral Commission. And subsequently, we had to boycott IPAC because, again, we felt that what is happening at IPAC was like a headmistress and the students, and they come and tell you, come by 7:30. If you don't come by 7:30, we lash you. And all kinds of, very childish way of managing the Electoral Commission we thought was a problem. Because, again, the integrity is actually the hallmark of every elections management body. Now, we felt that the Electoral Commission was not operating by integrity, and they were openly politically biased and were running the commission as an election directorate annex of the MPP. And so we have been alarmed by most of the things they have done. Along the line, during our boycotts, certain institutions, including DPs and Peace Council and all that, made a lot of overtures. We had our differences with them. We expressed our disquiet and why we think that they don't even have the capacity to do the engagements. But again, we looked at all those things and Ghana moving forward, and we have gone to IPAC. Now, we went into IPAC with a lot of hope that the Electoral Commission would do things differently. A cautious hope, though.
Right.
A cautious hope.
Right.
But we'll do things differently so that we'll be able to build some modicum of confidence in the Electoral Commission. And most importantly, some modicum of confidence in our electoral process, because we have actually lost confidence in the electoral process. And all research that has been done from Global Info Analytics and so on and so forth, Afrobarometer, has indicated that the Ghanaian people have lost confidence in the Electoral Commission. So the ordinary Ghanaian does not even trust the Electoral Commission again. And Bridget, let me tell you a reality. When you go out there, for example, in Kumasi, even on the streets, somebody will just approach you and say, Honorable, I feel way there. So we need not stop Electoral Commission. Now this is in Ashanti already. Now, they are seeing that the Electoral Commission had a lot to do with the stolen verdict in 2020. And they think that the Electoral Commission is the only blockade between them and economic independence, between them and the NDC winning elections. And so there is a general mistrust of the Electoral Commission across board, not we those in the NDC. But let's come to those of us in the NDC. We don't trust the Electoral Commission, and we are just only praying and hoping that they will do the right things that they are supposed to do by law, so that these elections are done with, and the NDC is declared the winner. Now, look at this exercise that we are doing, this registration exercise. They are established standard procedures for administering the BVRs. And so you have the case whereby BVRs will get missing under the watch of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission knows that the BVRs are missing, knows that there are major stakeholders, which involves political parties. We meet at IPAC. And they never bother to inform political parties that we have some BVR missing. So if our members of parliament didn't get the intelligence and announce the missing equipment, which first they came and said it was not true, nothing was missing. Then later they came back and said, oh, it is true, but it was 5 BVR equipment that were missing. Yes, but even with that, it is not the entire BVR, it is only the laptops. Then we came again. Then we said, look, BVDs too are missing. They say, oh, no, BVDs are missing. And that even if there is anything at all about BVDs, we only record that some few were damaged. Then we said, go and bring the damage, because if it is damaged, then we can see. Then they came by and said, oh, when we went, we didn't find the damaged one, but we have also realized that some few BVDs are missing. Who will trust you? Particularly looking at your history. Your history that is, clouded with political bias. You remember the Bosman Asaris saying that the NDC was the existential threat to the democracy of this country, and all the, openly biased, things that the Electoral Commission have done. Then you are concealing such critical information. And now when they were exposed, they said, oh, if the BVD gets missing, it is nothing. If the BVR gets missing, it is nothing, because there's no... And you see, that is the height of deception. And that is why we cannot trust the Electoral Commission an inch. Because, let me tell you what the BVR does. The BVR actually is a briefcase that houses certain equipment, accessories, which briefcase is used for the registration exercise. When you open the briefcase, it has three major elements, three major equipments or accessories. The laptop, the fingerprint scanner, and the camera. Those are the three major equipments. Now, the Electoral Commission is telling us that, oh, the briefcase didn't get missing, but the laptop was missing. And the laptop, oh, you need activation before you can use it. It is not even important. But that is the height of deception, because the main BVR itself is the laptop. The fingerprint scanner, when you go to Medina or you go to Agbogboshi, even the scrap market, you may be able to get some for 200 Ghana. You can get even the camera, the webcam camera. You can get it for even 150 Ghana cedis. The key element of the BVR is the laptop. Why is it so? It is so because it houses the registration software. Which registration software is where you enter the biodata and all information of any eligible registrants. And so when you open a laptop, there's only one software on it. You will not get Word. You will not get Excel. You will not get any other software. The only software you get on it is the registration software. Now, the registration software will need an activation code to go in there. And so the Electoral Commission again told us that even if they are able to access a laptop, they can't get access to the activation code. And because of this cybersecurity reasons, previously, all the BVRs, what they do is that they give you a common login. Like when you forget your password and you request for change of password, they give you a general password. Then when you use that to log into your account, you change the password into the new one. And so that protocol was used by the Electoral Commission as a cybersecurity measure. And so before we go to any registration exercise, they generate a general activation code for all the district directors. Yeah. So when you log in the general activation code, then now you change it to a district specific password, which would allow only the district officer to be able to access that machine for the registration. Remember, the registration is connected to the database live. And so when anybody has access to the software and he activates it, he can register anybody into the system. And so previously they will give you the general one, then you generate the local one. Now that we have 5 machines missing, and we don't know where the machines are, and the mystery around it has not been solved, the Electoral Commission has decided that all the machines that are coming are already opened. So when you go, create your password, then send the password back to the headquarters so that the headquarters would have your password. What it simply means is that when the headquarters have your password, let's say Ayawaso West Wagon, if anybody that was part of the cabal that stole the 5 laptops gets access to Ayawaso West Wagon password, he can use that to log in.
I didn't know about this.
Yes, into that machine. And he can do any registration at all which will add up to Ayawaso West Wagon without necessarily doing the registration in Ayawaso West Wagon.
What do you think that means?
And it is simply and easily just as that.
Does the NDC have any intelligence on where the BVRs are?
Well, as it stands now, we are still trying to follow. We have suggested that there is a bipartisan inquiry from Parliament into the missing equipment. But we think that all the processes that the Electoral Commission has put in place is to compromise the entire registration process. Because if indeed you know that 5 machines are missing, rather what you should be doing for cybersecurity reasons is to put measures in place to make sure that those machines would be, as it were, decommissioned. You understand? But what they are doing, the system they have put in place, is a system that will make it easy for anybody who has stolen those machines to use those machines.
Is that the biggest worry of the NDC? I mean, earlier you made a statement that, Afrobarometer, Global Info Analysis, have all done like research to say, okay, nobody trusts or Ghanaians don't trust the Electoral Commission. And you said they're doing everything, to not declare the NDC as the winner of the 2024 election. Are you setting your mind up as this so that you won't accept the electoral results?
Absolutely not. Bridget, let me say this and say this emphatically. There's nothing that is going to stop the NDC from being declared the winners of the 2024 election. Absolutely nothing. And not the Electoral Commission and not the government, not the security agencies. And that is going to happen. President Mahama will be declared the president of the Republic of Ghana. But having said that, it is important that we become very vigilant, because we are dealing. General Mosquito has been saying this, that when you are dining with the devil, make sure that you are using a very long spoon, because you are dining with the devil. And we actually know that we are in the necessary dining with the devil, and we don't have any choice, because as a country we have decided to go the path of democracy, and so we have to be part of the democratic process. But we cannot afford to lose guard on our vigilance, and that is what we are doing. Everything that we see, all these things, these exposés that we do, all the error-ridden publications that they are doing, that we are exposing them, we are catching them. It's a product of our vigilance, and that is what is expected in the main election. In fact, the NDC, after 2020, have learned a lot of lessons. The accounts have a saying that, what it means is that if it doesn't collapse, you will not know how to arrange it.
Right.
And we believe that the lessons that we learned from 2020 was very enormous, which has added so much to our experience in dealing with the Electoral Commission. And that's why we are catching them every day. Okay. So every single step of the way, we are a step ahead of them. Okay. When they try...
What have you learned, from 2020, and what are you doing, what would you do differently to prevent, the outcome that you experienced in 2020, where you call it, the stolen verdicts? What are you doing differently?
Most of which would be a matter of strategy, and I can share with you. Okay. Right. But the critical part I can share with you is vigilance, and that is what we are doing. Okay. But you see, beyond the vigilance, beyond following the Electoral Commission very closely, election is a process. It's not an event. So what happens on 7th December and how you even put the numbers together is actually not the problem. It is the process of preparing for the elections. And remember, every election starts with the registration exercise. The registration exercise is where we put people eligible on the voter roll. And so that is why we are focusing all our strength on the registration exercise. Right. So some registration exercise was done last year. Some is being done this year. This registration exercise must be done from the background that we expect that a certain number of our population are turning 18 years and above. And that means that there must be some proper targeting. We have had issues with the Electoral Commission from last year about their targeting. We predicted the number of people that they are going to register. They said, oh no, we were looking at 600,000. They ended up registering the number of people that we said. This time too, they are doing the same. But most importantly, Bridget, you see, there are challenges that are confronting the registration process. And the Electoral Commission, again, are misdiagnosing those challenges. I heard Bosman earlier last week saying that, that there is violence all over, there are problems with the registration because we are not using Ghana card. And again, I say, Jesus Christ, what are we talking about? Are we talking about Ghana card? Because the Ghana card, the reason why you want to bring it in is that you think that the guarantor system allows for some misrepresentation of the information, and so we should use Ghana card. But the Ghana card itself, critical part of the process of acquiring a Ghana card is the guarantor system. And majority of the people who go to get a Ghana card go for guarantee. So they do the guarantor system. And you know what we are realizing in this registration exercise? We are realizing that some of the children who come, who are underage, the minors, who we see on TV, the pictures you have been seeing, they brandish Ghana card. That, oh, I have the Ghana card. I have the Ghana card. And in actual fact, almost 90% of those children who carry those Ghana card, you could see from their faces that they are not even 18 years. And so what we are doing is that we are working on challenging all those individuals and seeing out, because they are all of school going age. And when you go to school, you write your age there. And we have found some already who brought in Ghana card and were challenged, and we have seen their records that their date of birth in their school is different from what is on the Ghana card. But you know the biggest challenge of our registration process? The registration system is designed in such a way that it communicates with itself, only itself. It doesn't communicate with the Ghana card system, the NIA system. So if anybody comes to the polling station, the registration center, and brandishes a Ghana card, that, oh, I am 18, I have Ghana card, and that person is a toddler, you could see that person is a toddler. If you do not challenge the person, what it means is that even the person could be 15 years on the Ghana card, 15 years. But because he has brandished the card, when he goes to sit down, the registration agent will enter a corresponding age that will make the person 18.
I understand.
And the system will register the person. And there is no system to cross-check that with the Ghana card.
Because
that is
the
one
data
of the,
was taken manually.
No, it's not even manual.
I guess
it's
no,
digital.
I think you would
yes,
tell the person, but then in inputting it, you input the correct one.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's not as if they scan your Ghana card and they load your information automatically.
Yeah. No.
They enter the date manually, and that's why sometimes they can enter your sex even differently. So you are female, but they enter male. You understand? And so there are a lot of the young people who are registering, particularly in the Ashanti region, the Mankrasu area where there was the violence, and the Shodafo South area where there was that confusion, and so on and so forth. Those children are coming with Ghana cards, and they are not even 18 years. Yes, they are going through the registration process. And so it's one of the biggest defects of the Electoral Commission's process, which we have raised with them. Because indeed, there is no way they can check whether the person that they have entered the 18 years is actually 18 years.
Right. Okay.
And so what it means is that all these minors would go into the database. Then we say that, oh, because they are carrying Ghana card. Meanwhile, they are not 18.
Okay. My final question, before we wrap up on this Electoral Commission is, I read a report by the Fourth Estate on the violence that happened in the 2020 elections. And in reading, and the article really is on how the 8 persons died. And in reading, I realized that almost all 8 people who died were associated with the NDC. One, is that why the president has refused, one, to acknowledge and even say a word about it? 2, how then do we avoid, deaths in the 2024 elections, given the number that we lost, and especially those who are associated with it? I mean, if I mention Techiman South, Ododo constituency, and whatnot.
We believe, apart from Jenny Mensah and a team at the Electoral Commission, the biggest threat to our election in 2024 is security. And it is something that we must deal with very dispassionately. And whilst I was at IPAC in the previous IPAC, one of the biggest advocacies that I ever did, which still didn't get the attention of the public, which I still want to insist, is that political parties must be made to be part of the National Election Security Task Force. Look, until political parties are added to the National Election Security Task Force, they will continue to kill us, use the police and the military to kill innocent people in elections. You know why? Because we do not know the deployment strategy. We do not know who is supposed to be at the polling station and where they are supposed to be and who is not supposed to be there. The Election Security Task Force is an amalgamation of the Electoral Commission officers, the police, and they bring in some support from the military. Why don't you include the major stakeholders of the election? If you do not include the stakeholders of the election so that they know who and who you are deploying in 2020, one of the requests that I made with the Electoral Commission, and I kept making a lot of noise about it, give us the deployment list for every single polling station or every single constituency, so that if we see Yamansa or Akosua Menu policeman, and he is not identified as Akosua Menu who is supposed to be in that police station, we can raise alarm and make sure that that person is not in that police station. Right. The violence that occurred in 2020, the state-sponsored violence, I call it a state-sponsored violence.
No, in the article I read, actually it was stated emphatically by Fourth Estate that there was states supported. I mean, there's a way.
This is a state-sponsored. It's not. I will not even.
Facilitated. Yes.
This is a state-sponsored. They sponsored it. You know, the whole thing. Perhaps I have not read the article, but if we have time and I'm narrating what actually happens, it will shock you to the core. The IGP, the previous one and the current IGP, we have made repeated calls to the IGP. We want to see how far those investigations have gone. Look, meetings upon meetings with the Peace Council, meetings upon meetings with the Electoral Commission, DPs, and the police service. We have demanded details of the investigation, and they will tell us that, oh, we are going, we'll come back with the information. In fact, the last meeting that we held before, I exited office as a Deputy General Secretary, there was one meeting that was organized by Honorable Kandapa, the Minister of National Security, brought all political parties together, brought all the security agencies together to discuss this matter of political violence. And indeed, in that meeting, we demanded that we want to know this before we even proceed with the discussion. We want to know the state of the investigations of the 8 people. We were assured that, only 1 week they were going to come back. And after the 1 week, there have been numerous of demands to know the state. But again, the government sponsored it. The Attorney General benefited from it. The President benefited from it. So they don't care. Nobody is going to be investigated. In actual fact, President Mahama has made a solemn promise to the families and the people of this country that, God willing, in 7 January 2025, when he has been sworn in as a president, he would open investigation into those dastard killings that happened in 2020. And make no mistake, anybody who is found culpable will be dealt with by law. We are not going to leave that matter. But whilst at it, we must prevent another one from repeating itself in 2024. Sure. And that's why I'm saying that the greatest challenge for the 2024 election, apart from the Electoral Commission, is the security. And we must join the conversation.
Do you have confidence in IGP Dampare?
Well, in fact, from the foregoing, I doubt if I carry any confidence personally for IGP Dampare. Because, I mean, a lot of people felt that the Dampare could do more, but he has been swallowed by the system. And he has become just one of those political IGPs that have been appointed. And I don't see that he's going to make any difference. Rather, I think the difference will come from our vigilance. And again, Bridget, I would want the media to join this advocacy. The National Election Security Task Force must have as its members some stakeholders, some political party representatives, so that we know exactly what is being planned at the National Security Task Force. Otherwise, we risk having political parties setting up security task force themselves. And if you ask me, as we sit now, the NDC, we must be our own security, we must be our own judiciary, and we must be our own Electoral Commission in the 2024 elections. Because we don't intend to go to court, we don't trust the Electoral Commission, and we have absolutely no confidence in the security apparatus. All right.
Dr. Peter Boama Otokunor, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Thank you very much for watching. You can leave your comments on us for us on all our social media platforms. My name is Bridget Otu. We're back again next week with more.